From skeletons up to 10 feet long to mysterious giant footprints, here are 10 discoveries that suggest giants actually existed. Number 10. Lake Delavan, Wisconsin. On May 4, 1912, the New York Times reported a shocking story from Lake Delavan, Wisconsin, stating that 18 giant skeletons had been uncovered. These giant skeletons were found in ancient effigy mounds of baked clay and charcoal. While this information is quite fascinating, the number and how they were found is not the most surprising part of the New York Times report. The most shocking part of this story is that these skeletons ranged from 7.6 feet to 10 feet. These skeletons were quite different from ours, and the skulls were much bigger than the heads of any type of person who lives in the US today. It was also reported that they had double rows of teeth. Other differences were the nose was set up farther above the cheekbone line, and the bone above the eye socket sloped straight back. The jawbone was said to resemble that of a monkey. While the giant skeletons held some characteristics of human skeletons, it was said that they had 6 toes on each foot and 6 fingers on each hand. Was this another type of human species that may have lived among us in the past? Was it some sort of prank played by farm boys or scientists themselves? The answer is no. As you will see, there are dozens and dozens of similar finds of giant skeletons. Why don't we learn about this kind of stuff in school? And now for number 9. Be sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new videos. Number 9. Death Valley Giants. In 2002, the Atlantis Rising, a magazine about ancient mysteries and unexplained anomalies, recounted a news story originally written in August of 1947 by the San Diego Union. The news story goes that in 1947, Howard E. Hill, an archaeologist from Los Angeles, California, brought together a group of men in for a meeting. At this meeting, Hill revealed that several mummified skeletons had been uncovered and taken from underground tunnels and caves under Death Valley. Hill said he first heard about these caves from Dr. F. Bruce Russell, a retired Ohio physician, who first stumbled upon several underground tunnels and caves underneath Death Valley in 1931. However, it wasn't until a year later that Dr. Russell returned to these underground tunnels with colleague Dr. Daniel S. Bovee to open the tunnels. Once inside, the men discovered several giant skeletons. These giant skeletons, which were about 9 feet tall, were covered in medium-sized jacket and trousers that stopped below the knee. The material resembled a gray sheepskin from an unknown animal. The skeletons were placed at about 80,000 years old. Howard Hill continued to tell the group that explorers believed they found a burial place for an Indian tribe. Hill told the group that the remains were to be analyzed by Dr. Viola V. Petit of London, who did excavations around the Arabian Desert. The remains of these uncovered giants are nowhere to be found, and 1947 was the last anyone reported about these giants. Some say this was a joke. Even archaeologists are afraid to go see for themselves if the Death Valley Giants are fact or fiction for fear of being called gullible. However, it is also stated that the area where these skeletons were found is not inaccessible. Number 8. Grand Canyon's City of Giants. On April 5, 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article that G.E. Kincaid, an archaeologist from the Smithsonian Institute, had found the remains of an underground Grand Canyon city while rafting down the Colorado River. S.A. Jordan, a professor, joined forces with the Smithsonian Institute for a thorough examination of the city. Upon further examination, the news story says that a tomb of mummies was found. It is reported that no mummy was under 9 feet tall, and they were all wrapped with dark linen. According to Kincaid's report, he stood one of the mummies up and took a picture of the mummy by flashlight. However, this picture has never been found. Some people call this a hoax, as no evidence, other than the article in the Arizona Gazette, proves that such a find ever occurred. Several people have contacted the Smithsonian, to which they have publicly responded that they have no record of the Grand Canyon finding, or even of a G.E. Kincaid or S.A. Jordan ever working for or with the Smithsonian. While the Smithsonian did not outright deny the finding or call it false, they stated their fact and agreed that a cover-up was possible. Number 7. Giant footprints. In 2012, a South African author and researcher showed and explained a giant footprint which was discovered in South Africa 100 years before. The footprint was first discovered by a farmer named Stoffel Coetzee, who came across a giant footprint in granite while hunting. At the time of the discovery, the footprint was found in a deeply remote area known as Eastern Transvaal, which was filled with wildlife. This giant footprint remains in the same area and condition as when it was first discovered and is estimated to be about 200 million to 3 billion years old. The footprint is measured at 4 feet long, making the person who left the footprint about 24 feet tall. Over the past century, geologists who have studied this giant footprint have stated that the erosion pattern of the footprint is the same as that of a human footprint. However, some people believe that this giant footprint is a hoax, stating that granite was not around 200 million to 3 billion years ago. However, geologists say that this is a special kind of granite called phenocrystic granite or coarse porphyritic granite or something like that, created from different stages of cooling and dates back to over 3 billion years. Number 6. West Hickory, Pennsylvania. In 1870, two newspaper articles, the Oil City Times and Daily Evening Bulletin from Pennsylvania, discussed a giant skeleton that was found near West Hickory. The skeleton was discovered when two men, Mr. W. M. Thompson and Robert R. Smith, were excavating in preparation to erect an oil derrick near Mr. Thompson's home. At first, they found a large iron helmet. Upon further digging, they found a sword which measured at about 9 feet in length. Out of curiosity, they made the hole bigger, which is when they discovered 2 large feet. After hours of digging, the men found the head of the skeleton, which looked like a well-preserved giant. The bones of the skeleton were white, the teeth were said to be large, all in place and doubled. The giant skeleton was estimated to be about 18 feet tall and was taken to New York for evaluation. If anyone has any updates on this, please let me know. Number 5. Giant skeleton in London Museum. Nothing can prove that giants have roamed the earth more than a giant skeleton on display at a museum. The Hunterian Museum in London, which is ran by the Royal College of Surgeons, holds the skeleton of a man named Charles Byrne, who lived from 1761 to 1783. Byrne's exact height is up for debate, but his skeletal measurement is 7 feet 7 inches. However, other records have him at over 8 feet tall. While Byrne wanted to be buried at sea, surgeon John Hunter, who was known to collect unusual specimens for his private museum, arranged to have Byrne's remains snatched before arriving. There is continued debate on whether Charles Byrne's wishes to be buried at sea should be carried out. However, the Royal College of Surgeons believes that the value of Byrne's skeleton to humanity outweighs his said wishes, especially since he did not have a will. Number 4. Adena Giants. According to research, various amounts of giant skeletal remains in decent condition were found in some gigantic prehistoric mounds in North America. These skeletons ranged from 7 to 8 feet at the shortest end and up to 11 feet at the tallest end. The skeletons were also recorded to have 19 inches between the shoulders, very large skulls, and jawbones. The mound where these skeletons were found was measured at 13 feet high with a base of 50 feet. One of these mounds was described in a Michigan newspaper in 1882, and it said that the femur bone of the male was of great size. That would indicate that the lower half of the person must have been at least 7 feet in height. In the 1880s, the 12th annual report of the Bureau of Ethnology documents several gigantic skeletons found by Smithsonian agents. In May of 2015, artist Marcia K. Moore was contacted to recreate an image of the Adena giants. Number 3. A Eureka Giant. In July of 1877, a group of 4 prospectors were looking for gold and silver in an isolated hilly area around Eureka, Nevada, when one of them found a unique shaped rock. To get a better look at this interesting rock, the prospectors started climbing, only to realize that this was not just a unique shaped rock, but a giant leg and kneecap sticking out of the rock. The prospector called to the others, and together they used picks to release the rock and brought the find up to Eureka, where it was put on display. Upon further evaluation of this finding, it was noted that the leg bone was broken 4 inches above the knee. The remains were complete with kneecap, lower leg bones, and a skeletal foot. From the knee to the heel of the skeletal remains was 39 inches, which meant that this person would have measured about 12 feet tall. Scientists who analyzed these skeletal remains concluded that the remains not only belonged to a human, but a very modern-looking human. Further evaluation of the rock dated it back to the Jurassic era, which is over 185 million years old. Number 2. The Minnesota Giant. Nearly 150 years ago, a report in the Sauk Rapids Sentinel dated December 18, 1868, entitled Wonderful Discovery, told of one of the largest skeletons ever found. The over 10-foot skeleton was found by quarry workers with the Sauk Rapids Water Power Company on the shores of the Mississippi River. This skeleton was not found complete, as the left foot from the ankle to the toes and the thumb and fingers from the left hand were missing upon discovery. It is recorded that the giant would have weighed at least 900 pounds. However, a few days later, these bones were taken during the night, reportedly sent off to a circus. Today, the only remains of the Minnesota giant find is the Sauk Rapids Sentinel Wonderful Discovery article held at the Benson County Historical Society. While the executive director of the Historical Society states there is no way to know whether this story is fact or fiction, she is leaning more towards fact, stating that this is not the type of article to just come out of nowhere. Number 1. A Sheriff and a Skeleton. In Wheeling, West Virginia, during the year of 1857, a Western Literary Messenger article stated that 2 men found a giant skeleton while they were subsoiling grounds for the Wheeling Town Sheriff Wickham. Even though the skeleton was said to be decayed, it was easy to identify once the bones were put together that this skeleton once belonged to a human body. It is stated that the jaws and teeth of this giant human skeleton compared to the jaw and teeth of a horse. When the whole skeleton was measured, it was said to be at a height of 10 feet 9 inches. For a while, onlookers could view the bones at the sheriff's office. I am not sure where they are now. Thanks for watching. Do you believe that giants actually existed? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!